Hello, everybody. Oh, wait. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Today, we are going to do something special on the Minds Roundtable weekend event. We are getting Tan, High Trans life story right here and right now. So,
Hello.
say hi, hi. There you go. So,
Hi.
with that being said, it's like I said, off the recording, Tan. You can start this at any point in your life where you wish to start it. This is your time. You take it as far as you want into your life up to this point or wherever you want to stop. It's your choice. Nobody's going to interrupt you. There's going to be no questions.
Feel
Now,
feel free to interrupt with questions because I might miss stuff.
this is what I was getting at. Now, the questions and answers can come afterwards,
Mhm.
okay? So
No,
after,
I mean I don't know, Roger. I kind of not comfortable with telling my whole story from the beginning to the
just
end. So
whatever you want to
feel
say.
free to jump in and ask questions. It might jot my memory with some stuff that I meant I wanted to say, but it just missed out, right?
Okay.
But yeah, okay.
Okay, so with that being said, I'm going to shut my mouth and I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right. Hi, my name is Tan Hai Tran. Uh, I'm currently living in Canada. I came from Vietnam originally. I came to Canada when I was 12 by way of Japan as a refugee. Uh, we left Vietnam, like communist Vietnam, uh, in '86, and that was my second journey. Uh, we did one more trip. The first trip we did was in 1980, escaping out of Vietnam by boat. Same kind of deal. First time was on a bigger boat. Second time was a much smaller boat, but we had success on that. But more details on that later. My dad was uh, a naval officer in the old Vietnam, South Vietnam army. Yeah, he was a lieutenant, about to get promoted to captain when the communists came in and took over South Vietnam. Um, so I was about 3 years old when that happened, 1975, and so I hardly remember that uh, that those years with my dad before he left for what they call was re-education camp. When they did, when he did that, we were living in Saigon before that, and when he went to prison, my grandmother, my grandfather, most of my family moved from Saigon down to like a small village, which was my grandmother's hometown. And way back then, it was pretty much undiscovered land, like uninhabited. It was wild, and it's just we basically came down there to uh, rediscover the place, basically refarm, like um, 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 cut down all the weeds and all the tall, like make wild land into inhabitable land. Uh, so I went with the rest of my family down there, and we lived some hard years from 75 to 78. We had a kind of a famine back then. Uh, we were short on rice. Rice was our main staple. Uh, back then. But then in those years, we hardly had enough to live by every day, and so in some days, uh, the older ones had to sacrifice some of their food to so that the younger ones can have a sort of a full meal for the day. So those were hard years, and my grandmother, my grandfather, when he came down here, he was retired. He was old. He used to be a like elementary school teacher before he retired in the old government. But then he was just old, so he's just living, uh, looking out for the house while my my uncles work to farm the rice field, and the other uncles just work on the farm to tear down all the wild trees in there to make something out of it. And sometimes we grew corn. In other seasons we grew um, uh, like purple yam, like sweet potatoes, right? And that's how we survived. I went to school, elementary school there, in my village, but there's a kind of stigma built around children of officers of the old government, right? Uh, it wasn't so much in elementary school. Everything was fine, but we have to, every not just us, but every student, every child in I remember every child in school, once or twice a year, they have to go and basically collect like leftover or pick rice. What do you call those? The rice kernels that are from the wheat, the tares. You collect them and then give it to the school so that they can, I don't know, ship to the north to feed people in the north or doing something like that. But that's kind of like our responsibility as the citizens of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam. And the stigma with higher education is that if you are a child of officers of a former government, it will be hard for you to get into university and or higher education, things like that. But my so my dad, he was in re-education camp. They relocated him to several places, and my grandmother would take me to visit him, like once or twice a year, to travel up into the mountainous range where he would have his camp there, and we would travel from early morning until afternoon to get there, and then we were able to see him for like half an hour or so, and then that was it. And then we left, went home, uh, for the for, for the same day. Um, so that was that. I was going to school. He was in prison. So for 6 years, he stayed in prison for being a Navy officer. And when he came out, I remember like he seemed like a stranger to me at first. I was by that time I was used to living with my grandmother, more attached to my grandmother than my dad. My mom, she was after my dad was in in prison. She went back to live with her mom's family, her mom's side, and so I stayed with my grandma to study and things like that. Um, so after 6 years in prison, my dad came back and he tried to work. He has like a friend up in Saigon who has a ice factory, the ice making factory, and he worked with them for or not for a few months. But I think all in the meanwhile of doing that, he was just thinking of ways to get out of this hellhole, right? But um, I don't remember exactly how long after he started working, but at one point he came and came down. I don't remember like the first time he came back down to the village, and I'm pretty sure he talked to my grandma, but then he talked to me about we're gonna leave. Back then, I don't know. I don't remember how old I was. Probably like 7 or 8. So I just follow my dad, listen to whatever he tells. So, uh, so one night we sneaked out in the middle of the night, and we went to like by bicycle. My dad was carrying me. He's biking in his bike, and I was on the back seat. Uh, we, we started off going to somewhere to meet up with a bunch of people that would take us out of the country. But so the plan is. We would meet up in this kind of a ship. It's a ship in our standard back then, but it was like a boat compared to today's standard, I guess. It can hold like 70 people. But we would go in like a canoe in the small groups of us, and then the canoe would take us out to this ship that is anchored in the middle of the river, and then we would get onto that big ship, and then the ship would take out. When we get that, would be how we would get out of the country. So that was in okay, maybe 1979 or so. And was our first trip. So that first trip, we went on this ship that can hold 70 people, but something went wrong with the ship. I think can't remember the exact days, but after a few number of days, maybe 4 or 5 days after we left, and we were on the ocean. Not even 4 or 5 days, maybe just 2 days, because we're not that far from the international line, the water line, separating Vietnam from the rest. When our boat ran out of oil, ran out of gas, the ship ran out of gas and it died. So some fishing boats, some fishing ships found us. So I guess we were not that far from the Vietnam's area of the Pacific Ocean, because the fishing ships found us, and they offered to tow us back into land. If we give them something. So I think people collect together some jewelries that they have and some gold, that they have, and they just gave it to them, and then so they towed us back in, uh, and it was early morning, probably like 4 or 5 a.m., even before sunrise. Definitely before sunrise. I remember how. So this was I was what 7 or 8 years old. But I remember this. Um, they land. They told us into land, and they told us to just. Well, I don't know if they told us, but we were told where to go. It was we would separate into um, small groups, and this is this place that they dropped us in is a totally new area, strange land that we are not familiar with, right? So we had to figure our way out to walk out from the side of the river, or it's the ocean, the side of the ocean that is would take us back out into market where we can take the bus or something to the to find our way back home. But this is it's a strange area, but it's not that far from. It wasn't that far from my hometown either. It's just like, hey, robot, where are you? Oh, hang on a second. Hang on a second, Roger. Robot's on the other side. Hey, robot. Robot. We're on the live stream. We're on Roger's Jitsi. We're on Roger's Jitsi with the weekly Mind Roundtable.
Now.
Okay. Right. So we were fidgeting our way, trying to find our way back to the bus station so we can hitch a ride home. But as I said, it turns out we're not that far from our home village, which is like we were in like the east. What do you call it? My village was the east. They're two different. What do you call it? District, the east district, and we were just here dropped off on the west. But we were walking our way through the night. Like I said, this was what 4 or 5, maybe earlier than 5 a.m. in the morning, and we were walking our way through like wild wheat fields, trying to make his way out into the main road. And we were walking. My uncle. So we left. We went. My dad, me, and my youngest uncle, and then one other relative, distant cousin, went with us. So our small group was composed of that. So my uncle was leading the way to show us where to go, and we were following his direction. And we were walking, but again, we were fumbling our way through. But all the while walking, pretending like we're local. It doesn't look, trying to blend in, doesn't look like strangers. But we're walking into early morning, and we're almost at like the main street areas. We're almost near to the bus stop. But yeah, so we're walking, and all of a sudden we got police guys, or what do you call? They don't call it police down there, but they call it like security, citizen security force or something. Those guys, right? They came up behind us and said, "Hey, stop!" uh, 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 and then they had their guns and stuff. They're pointing in the air, but we know that they're like the kind of the police guys, right? So we found that we knew then that we were found out, and we found later on that okay, these fishing ships that dropped us off after taking our money, right? They were the ones that alerted the police that we were there, and so the police were out looking for us. Um, so we were caught. They gathered up somehow. All of us who left that boat end up getting caught. All of us. Maybe a few people got away, um, but they caught most of us, and they gathered us into this detention area. and and right, so my dad and my uncle and my dad knew that he was like the pilot, right? He was the navigator for the boat, for the ship that we left on. So he knew that uh, if if uh, if they caught him, anybody associated with him will have similar severe penalty. So we separated. My dad went on his own way, and my youngest uncle led us to go in a separate way to find uh, our route. But in the end, we all got caught, and my uncles, my dad were all gathered in the same place. But then they separated the adults to a different group, and the women and the children into a separate group. So from then on, I was separated from my dad and my uncle, and I was all by myself with this lady cousin of mine. So that was that. I experienced communist prison for a month. After that, nobody knew that we were captured. But on the day that I was released, they got us up into the auditorium, and they just called out. Oh, I think that was the April 30th or something, that the remembrance of their liberation of South Vietnam, right? So they decided to do some sort of amnesty and release some prisoners, right? So they gathered us in this auditorium, and then they would call out the names of the people that they would let go. And so what? I was 8 years old now, a child in prison. I was like no family, nobody, no acquaintance. I had nowhere to go. I didn't know where to go. But they called my name, and I was released out as part of the group of people that were released. And I had no idea where I was going. I was just following with the other people who were released, right? So I had no idea what I was gonna do. I was just following the crowd. I didn't know what would happen if I went out of the gate and then everybody start going on their own way, and then I will be left there. But by some miracle, right? My grandmother was there looking for me. She somehow heard the news that there's a group of people that got caught on the escape and were in prison. And somehow she asked around and found out where we were being kept. And on that day, she was outside looking at all the people that were released to see any familiar face. And then she found me. Without her, I don't know what I could have become. But actually, she found me, and then so I went home with her that day. But actually, to back up just a little bit, during my 4 weeks in prison, I made some friends. I made some friends there in prison. There we were staying. There's a large hall. The prison So we were not shack or anything like that, right? Because we're children. They left us all to would put us all together in this huge building, and in that building they have built like layers of bunk beds all around the building, and then there's people sleeping on those high bunk, and there's people sleeping on the floor all over in the building. But that's just one of the buildings, right, where this prison is. So they have many buildings for different people. But I was put into that building where there are children there, and then there's adult men who were in prison there. I don't know how long they stayed, but I was one of the kids put into the floor, the main floor, and one man, one of the men that were staying on the top bunk, the upper bunk, somehow he saw me, and he had some compassion for me, laying around on the floor there. He called me up to his bunk, and he gave me some of his food. He shared with me some of the stuff that his family, when they were visiting him, they would give him some extra food to and extra clothing to wear and eat on the side of prison food, right? So that's I made a friend there. I like that was the one brief period where I knew him, and then when I was released, I never knew anything more of him. And that was it. That was the end. But that's pretty memorable to me. Okay, out of prison, my grandmother found me, and she took me back in the village, back home. I was just gone for a brief time, so we told the official that I was just on our way back to Saigon for some long trip, right? Just making some excuse. So I went back to school as normal. Then we went back to school growing up, but because of that, I think I missed a year of school, and I think I was delayed 1 year, and then people in my class were one class ahead of me, and I was repeating the year and things like that. But so that's that. When all that's going on, my dad's then back in prison again, and we visit him once in a while as well. And he was in there for 3 years. I continued school until I finished grade 6. My dad, at the end of his 3rd year, he was released, and when he came back, did some more work for a brief period of time, and then he planned on leaving again. Right? And me, I was. Oh, hi, Mark.
Hi.
Good of you to join us. Are you sick? How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm fine. Fine.
Oh, Roger said you were sick. Since you guys are not showing up, Roger's decided to do an interview on my life. So I'm in the middle of telling my life story. Ask question if you want.
Yeah, we were doing his life story and everything. It's getting pretty good too. So,
I'm about to get onto my second escape trip.
Yeah. So, now
I guess.
Now I.
All right. Okay. So, Mr. Robot has a question.
I just wanted to ask, what was the prison food like?
Oh crap! I don't remember. It's like it was like porridge. I remember one of the foods tasted like porridge. It was like I saw them making it as well, right? It's like a huge pail of food, like they would be cooking for hundreds of people,
Uh,
uh, and they're all working, cooking the food. It's I I don't it one of the foods looks like porch to me. I don't remember the taste or anything like that.
Probably just some kind of staple to keep everyone alive.
Yeah,
Called the
yeah, I
food.
think so. Yeah,
So, can you? I just missed the part. Which country were you talking about when you were talking about that part?
Vietnam.
Oh, Vietnam.
Yeah,
Right.
South Vietnam. Yeah.
Okay. As you were, continue, please.
Okay, so I'm about to get onto my second trip. I was going. So I've been through this prison. I've been through that horrible journey on the boat, and then it was like on the first trip, it was a terrible experience, and to be honest, like it's. I actually prayed that we would go back, right? I mean, it's a little shameful to admit that, but it's a horrible trip to be in, and it was there's the there's a thirst, right? Uh, there's thirst and hunger comes in, and there's seasickness, and there's a 70. Imagine 70 people bunched together in a small boat for multiple days. The smells of vomit and all that starting to
Oh,
to to
it's
get
so
to you.
bad. It's such a deep like sickness too. Eh?
Yeah, yeah.
Um. So, from where to where was this trip, and
So
how
we
many
were
days
plan. We
roughly?
were just leaving. The plan was just to leave. Uh, just to leave the Vietnam's part of the sea and go out into international water where they'd have like American ships going back and forth because this is shortly after the war, right? And they would expect that there's people escaping. So they have on the international water lines, they would have ships going back and forth patrolling for people.
Vietnamese
Sometimes,
shit.
and we would hope. Then the hope was that we would be spotted by those ships and they would rescue us, right? So we have flared prepared on the boat, and then if we see a ship passing by, we would fire up, shoot up our flares, get them to recognize us. But then many occasions like that where we saw ships and we would shoot up our flares, they would just pass by. They wouldn't do anything, and that's like the common story for a lot of us Vietnamese
What
refugees.
ships were these? Sorry,
These are
were they
ships
American ships?
traveling.
Or?
These are ships traveling along the international water on
Oh,
their
like trade
way to
ships.
do their stuff, to do their trade, and some are even U.S. naval ships. Right, the lucky ones are rescued by the U.S. ships, and the other ones are just the less lucky ones are picked up by merchant ships like oil tankers that are carrying oil from from the Gulf to America or somewhere like that. And the least fortunate or um, the most unlucky of us are captured by pirate ships, and it's not a good thing to be captured by a pirate ship. They would take your belongings, and they would rape your women, right?
So,
So
what year was this? Like, was this like late 70s or
late
mid
70s,
70s?
yeah, late 70s.
Okay. And I don't know if you covered this, but can you just tell us a little bit about the what was the situation like in Vietnam that you were like leaving from? You know, like
Yeah, I talked a little bit about it. It was it was the kind of prejudicial treatment of uh, relative and children of members of the old government. Right, my dad was in the Navy, right? So um, there's you call discrimination against people belonging to the old government.
Right,
And
right. That makes sense.
yeah. So yeah, and it affects our education. It affects opportunity for career and things like that. Right? That's how. But way back then, I didn't understand any of that. It was my dad who make the call. Right? So he knew all that, and so he left basically for my future. Right? He sacrificed his future for my sake. Right? Yeah. So and um, so okay. So that was the first trip. Uh, And so after 3 years of prison, my dad was released. And now we're about to embark on the second journey. And I was just flashing back on the horribleness of the first journey that I did not want to go on the second trip at all, right? And most of all, I didn't want to leave my grandmother. Like I've gotten really close to her. And I was just fine being a dumb ox living under, this authoritative government. Um, but my dad saw more than what I could see back then. He pulled me with him anyway, and again, second trip, I was sitting in the back of his bicycle while he's pedaling away from my grandmother's house, and I remember crying profusely as we were leaving for the second journey. And the second trip, we went on a smaller boat that could only fit 17 people. Again, my dad was the pilot. He was the navigator because he was in the Navy, so people trust him to know his way around the sea. So on this second trip, my uncle didn't go, so it was just me and my dad, and it was us. That was it. And so out in the ocean again, we went on this small boat. I wish I had more time to prepare. I wanted to collect some old images of that boat to show you guys, but it was like a small fishing boat, smaller than that 70 people boat last time. But this time we made it through. We went out in the ocean for like 7 days, almost a week out. Did not run out of oil this time, of gas. But we were picked up eventually by this oil tanker I think it was Norwegian ship with Italian crew, I think. And so the people on the ship were all speaking Italian, but they were on their way to Japan, and they found us. So we were picked up. Most of us are like almost like out of our strength. We couldn't even walk properly up the ladder into the ship, but we were so happy. Oh, who's finding these boats? A robot does.
Is it kind of like that, or like bigger?
Yeah, kind of like that, but it's more. It's a concealed walls, right? So it's no, that one there, that down there is too big.
Not bad.
Yeah, kind of like this one that you're mousing over there. Yeah.
This one here.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe a little
Oh,
bigger,
okay.
but about that. So imagine that kind of ship going across the Pacific, heading towards
Oh,
Malaysia. So we're aiming for Malaysia. So we're heading out towards there, and then along that way we got picked up by this oil tanker, and then they rescued us, and then they were on their way to Japan, so they took us to Japan with them. Right?
yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
You see where Japan is?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big distance, dude.
Yeah, well, no. So we were just out. No, that's the ship carrying us, though, right? So, but we're just out.
Yeah, yeah.
We were heading
So
out
you went.
towards the Philippine and that kind of area, right? Yeah, yeah.
So you're coming out here, and
Hmm.
then you went here, and then you got taken over here.
Yeah,
You went all over that area.
yeah, yeah.
You almost could have made it to Australia.
But no way. We'd probably die before we get there.
You'd have to get past the cannibals.
Right. Well, I mean, there's horrible story in similar journeys, right, about cannibalism. I think there was even a documentary on some of the Vietnamese, other Vietnamese group. They made it, and it was on it was on Vmail.com. Um, anyway, so yeah, so we got that was the hardest part of our journey was done. We got rescued by this ship. The name I remember the name of the ship as well was J. Paul Getty, and I think J. Paul Getty is one of the name of some rich oil tycoon or something. Search up J. Paul Getty, see if you can find the ship. Right, that
There
could
you
be it.
go.
J. Paul Getty Oil Company. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There you
Is
go.
there a way to zoom that up?
Can you
Get-
click on
Yeah.
that ship?
See if maybe they'll let you see the field.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
There's your little
So-
boat.
that was the boat that rescued us. Right.
A little bit less seasick on that one, or
A little bit
Not
less
walking.
seasick. Yeah, you can hardly feel anything. It's like
Yeah,
being
wow.
it's like being in paradise. You know, we were all. That was the first time I tasted an apple. Right?
Wow.
They rescue us, and then they start giving us milk, and they gave me an apple right on there, and I bit into it. And the first time I bit into an apple, it's amazing. Yeah.
And what was Japan like once you got there?
Yeah. So Japan has a refugee camp organized already due to a flux of Vietnamese coming out of the Vietnam War, right? So United Nations were there. They're prepared. They had a camp in Nagasaki for refugee camp. Look for Vietnamese refugee camp. Yeah.
So was Nagasaki well built up again then after the nuclear attack thing that happened
Yeah,
there?
yeah. There's a huge hole where that bomb was, but it's inhabitable. It's good.
So when you made it to Japan, what kind of process did they put you through? Like, was there like here they make you go on to Staten Island and stuff like that? Like when you got there?
Staten Island. I guess this refugee camp in Nagasaki is that place. Every Vietnamese refugee that made it to Japan start out in this camp, and they have several, but this is the main, the first camp for all new refugees, and that's in Nagasaki. Let's see if I can find some old pictures of it.
Now, Robot's coming up with some good pictures and stuff too, so I'm actually sharing that.
Yeah. Good.
Did they feed you in the camp?
Yeah, it's very nice. It's like the United Nations funding that, right? So we have I guess it's similar to this, but is this in Japan though?
Similar Asia.
So we had our own room, like, and they have like a huge baseball field, kind of an area where they built housings around, and then there's one large cafeteria where they would just they feed us every like 3 meals a day. Like in the morning they would deliver milk and croissant on our front door. They would drop it there and we'd come and collect it. We would eat breakfast with that. And then lunchtime we would all gather in the cafeteria, and they had a crew people preparing food for us, and they just lay it out on the bench, and we're all just sit down and eat together in that huge cafeteria. Yeah. Where's this robot?
This is in Japan, refugees in Japan.
Yeah.
But, I'm not sure if it's Vietnamese or not. It might just be the staff there. I don't know.
Those could
40
be
years
Vietnamese
ago.
refugees. Yeah. Yeah, and the buildings look like that. Like they would have two floors, one at the bottom, and then there's a second stair. So it's the 2 apartments on two levels of apartments like that. Yeah.
And how long
And
were
then-
you there for?
I was there for 6 months. So in the first, I can't remember, it's 3 months or 6 months, but we were in there for a few months, and then they would ship us out into the second camp. Okay, so this is the first like a concentration camp where everybody gathered together, all the newcomer refugees would be in here, where initial paperwork are being processed and all that, and some of the people in here are being interviewed by the U.S. for sponsorship to the United States in some other country. Yeah. So in here so our life in here was like they have a soccer field. We got given clothing. They have a warehouse of clothing that they would hand out, and when we first came in, and after that, on whoever needs additional clothing, they would just give it out. And then there's a soccer field. We can go play soccer, have some activities around there, and they have some. We do as our community. We gather and have like camping activities and socializing within that confine. We're not allowed to go outside of that camp area now when we're here. but that's gonna change when we move into the second camp. So after maybe 3 or 6 months in this, we get to go because this camp eventually fill up, and we need to move out and make way for newcomer in this area, right? So all over Japan there are various refugee camps set up to support this kind of a secondary stop, right? And then we got moved. We're in Tokyo. Can you go to map and look up? We were in Nagasaki, and we were in Nagasaki. Search up Nagasaki.
Where's Nagasaki?
Can you look? Can you search for Nagasaki?
I can't find the bloody search bar now. Oh wait, here it is. Oh, okay, I got it. It's right down the south. It's kind of like almost an island.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right. So Nagasaki is in the south tip of Japan, right?
Yeah.
And we got transported to a secondary camp in the province of Niigata. Niigata is in like the central of Japan, near the north of Japan. Central, I guess. Niigata, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, up there. Yeah, yep.
Yeah, so you went from there.
So that
to
was
there.
our second camp. We got transferred to there, and here, children get to go to school. So I get to go to Japanese elementary school, and my dad get to go to work. He can go work for a Japanese company and make some extra money, get some experience. So
What kind
and-
of work did you?
I don't know. Just some general labor work, I guess.
Port city, so yeah, must be a lot of labor work.
Mm. So this was a camp run by Franciscan missionary. So this is where I learned to learn about the faith and became a Catholic.
Ah, the plot thickens.
Yeah. I went to school here and I experienced some Japanese racism back there. The kids, well, just a short term. It was short lived. The kids I don't know, was maybe it's just me personally, right? But I went to grade 5 elementary school in here, and there was one kid in the class that really hate me, always picked on me, right? And I would get in fights with him, and he would pick on me all the time. And so I was in here for a couple of months, and I was here going to school for a couple of months, and my dad was working there for a couple of months when we got transported to a third camp. Mm-hmm. That's because my dad's fiance was in the other camp, and we were gonna meet up, and he would get married in that other camp. But so I was in there for a short while in this Niigata place, going to school. And the day before, like the week before I left, this kid that used to bully me a lot started to have a change of heart. I guess the teacher told him something about my story, and he had a change of heart. And then he started like being buddy with me, and he took me out into the market, and he bought some toys and all that stuff on the week and a half or two before I left for the third camp. So I guess that turned out well in the end. When I left, the whole class got together and wrote some notes, and they collected notes, the goodbye farewell notes that they had. They wrote up for me, and they gave it to me on the last day, and I carried it with me all the way all the way to the third camp and all the way to Canada, and I kept it for a long time. I've lost it now, but for a long time I kept those notes. So third camp was in where is it? Can't remember now the name of the.
I'm gonna switch it back to your personal profile until he does a search, because I know Robot's gonna search it on the map, and whenever it comes in, I'll put it back on there.
These are some of the boats some people were in, man. Look at these little things. That's crazy.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's like
What's the flag for? Is it just something to be seen or something?
yeah, it is. It's to be seen.
Man, they stuff those things full. What?
Yeah.
I'd be so scared. Yeah.
What really stands out to me is the linen on the sill. Look at that. Like that,
It's
That
good
probably-
quality stuff.
that probably came off of people's freaking tables to make the sill. You know what I mean?
You
Yeah.
guys carrying a baby like in here?
Oh yeah, the baby is on board too. You know. Yeah. There's some people who are just on their way. They were just like a toddler when they came out, came to America when they were just like 4 or 5 years old. So the third camp was it was in the it's called Karasuyama, in the province of Tochigi.
You might have to
Is that
spell
with a K?
No, Tochigi, Karasuyama.
O-G-D?
Yep, you got it, Tochigi.
Okay.
Where is that? Is that on the other side of the?
Yeah.
Zoom that out a little bit, just for a second.
Where's Tochigi? No, that's not it.
No?
Tochigi, yeah, that one
There
right
it
there.
is.
Yeah, that one right there. Yeah. All right, so it's it's not that far from Niigata. All right.
Inland.
Yeah. Okay.
How did you get there? By bus or something? Train?
By bus.
What was the camp called again?
Karasuyama. Let me type it in. The camp is called House of the Sea, Umi no Ie. What do I type it in the Jitsi chat?
Yeah, that'd be
did
the
ya?
best bet. And then you could just copy and paste, like in it.
The name of the camp is called Umi no Ie.
There you go, Robot. It's in the chat side
Okay.
right there.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's where is it? Yeah. Okay. Wait a minute. That's not. That's
Is that it?
Oh, okay, no. How do I get
Yeah,
out?
there's a cherry blossom park there near there that's very popular. Oh no, I'm wrong. Cherry blossom is on the second camp.
There you go. That green one. What is that over there?
Maybe put
See if I can
Umi
find-
no Ie in quote.
Oh yeah.
Just
Maybe I should just.
take it out, all the rest. Like,
Yeah. Okay.
yep. Okay, try that.
Alright. Beach house.
Oh,
Beach houses.
Yeah, I don't think it was a beach house.
it was somebody's beach house. Somebody's beach house, I think.
It must have some other meaning too.
Anyway,
Anyway.
maybe I got my memories messed up. Maybe this Uminoya is the place and the second camp. But this third camp in Karasuyama is it's not really a camp. It's the place of this missionary priest that I got to know really well. His name is Father George, and he's also Franciscan. But he is originally from Canada, from Montreal. He's Father George Cloutier.
Okay.
What are you looking for?
I just don't know what these Franciscans are exactly.
It's an order of an order of the Catholic. It's a Catholic order.
You're the Franciscans.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the
Italian.
Franciscans are a missionary. Saint Francis is the one that went to India, didn't he?
Yeah, that's why it sounds familiar. Yeah,
Right,
Francis.
Yeah.
The
St.
Right.
Francis
Talk a lot
of
about it,
Assisi,
yeah.
right?
right, Saint Francis of Assisi. Yeah.
the
And
one.
his or he is he has an order. An order is like a what do you call it? It's a religious establishment within the Catholic Church, and they have their own rules. And the Catholic Church has many of those orders. They have the Franciscans, the Jesuits, right? The Dominicans, the different orders of the Dominicans are the orders of the preachers. They go around to preach. They preach. And the Franciscans is what they're going around. They're also evangelizing, but they're helping out with the poor. They're more focused on helping out the poor.
Now,
And so they would go to the
weren't-
poorer countries.
Now, Dan, weren't they also the first to take poverty vows to where they would?
Yes. That's right.
Yeah.
Some of the
The
Franciscans
extreme
ordered it.
poverty required of members was relaxed in the final revision of the rule in 1223. So they got a little bit of money later on.
Right. Yeah, but these Franciscans, they live very simple, simple life, and simple setting. But this Father George, he runs this camp where it's a small camp. It's made up of a group of housing basically. But he probably had his people helped him build up these small houses that are grouped together in this this area where he's living and he's preaching and he's helping the Vietnamese. So at this camp I really got to know the second camp was when I started to learn about the Catholic faith. In Father George's camp was where I actually became a Catholic, and then I started helping him out every morning at Mass. He goes to celebrate Mass every morning in this nearby monastery where the nuns live and their devout life. and I would follow him, and I would help him with the daily mass, like help with the prepare all the stuff that he needs to do the mass with, right? So I got really close to Father George, and I stayed there. I don't know. So overall, my time in Japan was over a year. It was like a little over a year. So I was just also there for a short time, and then we got. So during all this time, my dad's been going interviewing with the United Nations, and the U.S. and Canada were open to receiving us, and he had a better choice of going to the U.S., but he opted to go to Canada again for my sake because he thinks U.S. is a more dangerous place than Canada. um, so we decided to go to Canada, and so after staying there for a few months, we got the paperwork in the order to go head out, and uh, we got a flight. The Canadian government has sponsored us, and then so off we go. So we left for the George there, and we headed off to Canada.
Now,
Yeah.
after all of that was said and done, and you finally reached Canada, about how old were you?
I was 13 probably. So I was in Japan. We got to Japan when I was 12. Stayed there for a year, so I probably over a little over 13 or 14. 14, probably 14 when I got there. Um, and and stayed there in Canada. We got like an immigration. What do they have? They have this organization in Canada called the Manpower, who's responsible for refugee immigrant newcomers to Canada, and they provided us with temporary housing. We stay in a hotel or an apartment, not a hotel, an apartment building spot or paid for by the Canadian immigration department, and then they gave us like some allowance of $100 or something. I'm not sure. I can't remember. It was a week or a month, for a week or a month. But with that, my dad was able to buy some um, you know, food and things like that uh, uh, for our survival. We could have stayed longer than that, but my dad didn't want to be a burden on the government, so he started out looking for work as soon as he can. So after staying in this apartment building for about a month or so, we moved out. My dad found a job. We were walking around, uh, uh, and we found a little place that some we somehow managed to find some Vietnamese that are renting out place, and then we're staying there. And then so we moved out of the government sponsored housing. Okay, I guess should we stop there and maybe do part two later? Maybe too long to go to go to all the
That
end.
was, I mean, everything that you said was
Mhm.
completely amazing. I think really just doing it off the top of your head, that was
Yeah.
excellent. You didn't need any references and stuff like that.
Well,
Besides, Robot came in and took over for you on
yeah.
that
Thanks,
area.
robot.
I
That was
think
cool.
your dad made a good choice too, going to Canada by the
Can
looks of
kinda-
things. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
especially, it said there the young Vietnamese people that moved there uh, were outperformed many of the other immigrants in terms of education and
Mhm.
what was it? Getting work later on and stuff. So
Yeah.
that's why you're such a weapon there, mate.
I think it's because we had a difficult um, we had something to prove. I guess we had a difficult life, difficult journey to be able to make it to here. So we appreciate more the life that's being given to us here, and so we work doubly hard to get back, even because we're having to start from scratch to rebuild everything, and to be to try to become a useful member of the Canadian society, and then eventually give back to the country that has given us like a second home, right? So there's that, and then there's also the motivation to provide a good future for our children.
Now,
Where in Canada was it that you stayed?
that's what
Toronto.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I was getting ready to ask. Where did you first start out?
Yeah, we all first all end up in Toronto. Everybody goes. Everybody ends up in Toronto.
That would be on
And
the
the-
West Coast, I believe.
The East Coast. The East
Is
Coast.
it the East
Toronto,
Coast?
just north of Buffalo.
Vancouver is the West Coast, right?
Vancouver's, yeah.
So they're your neighbours. You don't even know where it is.
Well, we don't really like paying too much attention to Canadians.
To the Canadians, yeah.
They-
Oh, yeah, it's like right on the border.
They're just parasites to us.
we had to kick them out. Like literally, we had to kick them out. They didn't like our revolution, so we said you have to go up
Yeah.
north.
No, we wouldn't let you invade us, so. So,
Now, I do have some bad news though. Like
What
in
is it?
part 2, we do have to go over your marriage.
why, man? That's a long time. That might be a part
That's-
3. Because you have to step over the dead bodies of a couple of my relationships to get to my marriage.
Well, I mean, we're still gonna have to cover it. You know what I mean? It's like that was actually that was a pretty good story. You told that to me and Karma, remember?
Yeah, I do.
So that's
It's
something.
That
serendipity.
was a really good story. I enjoyed that.
Yeah,
Yeah, wow.
I was like,
And
hey,
it's
Yeah, I'm
interesting.
sure.
part
I'm
to hear
sure I
it because it's
blurbed. I skipped over a lot of details that could be good. I mean, it's like it's a half an hour to skip over all these journeys that I've had, right? No, so
and
yeah,
let me say it again. We're gonna cover it at another time, and you can have all the references and stuff set up the way you want it. You know what I mean? But
Right.
like there now you've done your story, okay? Tell me
Mhm.
while you were saying that story you didn't feel something while you were saying it. It
I don't
does
think-
something.
I don't think I feel anything special like the other people that you've interviewed have felt. I mean, this is it's reminiscing of the past, so it's always like it doesn't make me choke up
Right.
at all. I mean,
I
this is,
understand.
I mean,
But-
those are.
Did it
I-
did it feel good though to bring it out and actually speak it out loud?
No.
very accurate.
I'm starting to think like I'm telling you guys too much. Maybe I want to keep some of these to myself, you know.
See, that's
No, it's kind of inspirational, man. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I've never had anything that atrocious go on in my life. It really like puts things in perspective, really. Yeah, awesome.
well, like when
Um,
you're talking about being in those camps and that old man, you know, giving,
Yeah.
you know, that right
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
I could see a little bit of choke up in you. I
Well,
know
yeah. I hadn't thought about him all this time until now, I guess.
Right.
So you may have a point there, but yeah.
You know.
So it's a lot of miracles happen throughout my life.
Well,
I'm
you
pretty
know
sure it
how
happens.
you know how beautiful your grandma is, don't you? Like that's a
Yeah,
beautiful
Yeah.
person. That
yeah,
that that caught me right there. She sat out in front of that place waiting for you. Yeah,
yeah.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean. That's
Right.
beautiful.
That's also got me. I was like,
Unbelievable, right?
what?
Yeah,
I can't even imagine just being a little kid fucking getting out of jail, not knowing where you're going. Like,
yeah,
fuck.
yeah,
That'd be sick.
yeah. That was some sort of miracle. But I mean, throughout my young childhood, living mostly with my grandma, uh, she's always looked out for me. I'm like her favorite grandchild. Right? I'm the oldest grandchild, um, but I've had her. I've had the first crack of her all sacrificial love, right? After me, there's I have younger cousins, and she's been always taking care of them. But I don't think they've had it as good as I've had with her, and so yeah, so I was close, very close with her, and then she died in 1997, I think, right after I graduated, and I came back. I came back in time after graduation. I came back just in time for uh, like she was feeling fine. She was 78, and she was just doing fine, right? Just moving about, very happy, very healthy. But she slipped and fall one time, just one slip and fall, and it all went downhill from there, like very fast, very quickly. Um,
Did she
so
break a bone or something?
Oh, she slipped and fell. Might have broken a bone, but it was worse, more severe than that, right? So it all
Mm.
it was the cause of her death. It was just
Ah,
her. Yeah, it wasn't because of her death, but she was like there's something other weak immune system in her, right? That this was just a precipitous cause
mm.
of all that happening. Um, so my dad went back as soon as he heard that she fell and was in hospital. And then, like a few weeks later, he called me, messaged me, and said, "It doesn't look good. You need to come back." So I went back just in time to see her die. Right, she was that week. It was too. She gotten too weak that the hospital said they couldn't do anything for her, and just to bring her home and let her live the last few days in the comfort of her home and her loved ones.
Awesome, you
So
got to see it.
yeah, um, yeah. So she was in the hospital in Saigon, and they took it out and took her back to our hometown, our village. And I came back, and that's where I came down to meet her. Like it was, it was, it was a very emotional moment when I first came in to the house. In that same house that not really same house, it's the same place, but since then my dad's been supporting her and helped her. She's very cute. She's said she's a dream that she would live in a high rise house, like a 2-story house by her old age before she died. And that's what my dad helped make that a reality. He sent back money, and she built a house, and was really it's a really nice looking house. And that's the house that I went back to meet her in, and she was just laying on the floor all weak and shriveled. And I just held her hand and cried for like a long time, and then I slept right next to her the night, and I'm not sure if it's that night or the night after is when she passed. Yeah.
That's
So
great.
That's
Now,
beautiful, man.
now Mark
yeah.
is here and he's been extremely quiet. So we need to let him say something.
Yeah, they came in late, but yeah, it's just been interesting to listen to this. I don't know how
Roger
long
said-
you've been playing before, or you've been doing this before.
Roger said you were feeling a bit under the weather. You said you were fine. You're okay.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay.
Been a
Have a
bit
busy
tired
day?
this evening, but yeah, fairly, yeah.
Okay.
I know somebody said that they weren't feeling good. Here lately I've been having to deal with so many people I keep forgetting. Like somebody said the other day that they were not feeling great, and I thought it was you. It could have been Mr. Robot.
Well, robot stayed up all night last
I'm healthy as a horse, mate.
Well,
I had a little
after
family emergency earlier, but it's all good.
after
We look-
getting drunk with an Irish girl, yeah.
night. So
Yeah.
did anything happen? I'm curious, robot. Anything happen between you two? Elephant in the room.
We just had a heated political, geopolitical discussions. You know, you guys kind of saved me actually. It was
You
about
spent
to
all
get
night
rough.
with a beautiful lady, and then all you talked about is political.
Oh man, when I mentioned Trump, she just like fire in her eyes and stuff. Like it was so funny, and I just, I'm sort of like,
it's like
if I
it's like
see
that
a button, I'll
militant.
push it. You know.
It's like that militant vegan that you encountered earlier. She's like a militant
Yeah, but at
anti-Trumper.
least she had some kind of ethics backing it up. I couldn't really get to the bottom of why this Irish girl hated Trump so much. I mean, I don't like him either, but I can at least back up why that is. Like, I just feel like she was kind of programmed by the media,
Mm.
and
Wow.
I don't actually blame her because a lot of the stuff she says is like what the mainstream media kind of the truth now, and it's like not on the internet anymore. It's like